Hi, and welcome to Madison Pictures. I've been away a while. I've been producing and making short films that will come out soon. I'll post the teasers and trailers on this channel when I get the time, but I'm not quite sure what I want to do with this channel. I kind of miss making video analysis videos as I used to, and it's been a while since I've done any, so I felt like making a short one. What I'm going to do today is analyze the opening scene of Steve Jobs by Aaron Sorkin and Danny Boyle. What captivated me by this movie when I saw it was the dialogue. I'm sure like a lot of people, it's an action-packed movie with words rather than fists. Fast-paced is an understatement for such a movie, but it makes for a really intense, quick-witted, snappy back-and-forth conversation.
I left them at the office. It was 3 a.m. when
Jesus Christ. Cut hello.
No.
What's the first rule of a launch?
It's not gonna crash. I just did. Andy! Which one? The other Andy. You're right there. Why would I be calling out?
He needs to talk to you? Yeah.
We'll go through the soundtrack as well because it provides a really subtle groundwork for the whole scene. But cinema isn't just an audio medium, it's also a visual one. And you can't purely talk about the dialogue without talking about the directing and editing. So, for starters, the first goal in any story structure you find in a book is the introduction. The scene, the characters, the tone. So how are each of these elements introduced when it comes to the shot list, editing, dialogue, and soundtrack? Let's start off with the scene. The first shot tells us already that we're in 1984, and we see a restless crowd waiting for something. The next two shots tell us we're in an amphitheater in Cupertino, California. And for those who didn't already know that Cupertino was Apple headquarters, then the next two shots tell us we're witnessing the Macintosh launch, so that should be a gentle reminder. Purely visually, we have all the information we need to be able to understand where we are and what we're doing in the scene. Now the dialogue tells us something very different, and here's where the first contrast is felt, and subsequently the first intrigue. In the first 5 seconds, Andy Hertzfeld says it's a system error. It's not going to say hello.
It's a system error.
So what's the upshot?
It's not gonna say hello.
So now we know there's a problem, and we have a vague idea of the stakes, but we don't yet grasp the magnitude of the stakes as Steve does. That'll come a little later. First, I want to mention the soundtrack. Notice how it begins with a really low and soft boom, and then a rhythmic ticking sound that persists. There are a couple digital sounds here and there, but the real genius behind this track is the anxiety it makes the audience feel. Literally, that time is running out. We're 5 seconds in and we already know where we are, what we're doing, and what the problem is. And on top of that, the soundtrack adds to the emotion that time is of the essence. Now we can get to the good stuff, the tone. It won't surprise anyone that all three elements will be intertwined, so the first thing that indicates tone in this film are two things in my opinion. The red felt chairs of the amphitheater that give a sense of importance, grandeur, and scale, and the fast-paced bickering of our three characters. The pacing of the dialogue, as well as the quick-witted, snappy remarks, make for a very anxious opening, where the audience isn't quite sure what's going to happen next, but can't wait to see how it's all going to play out. The tone then remains the same for the entirety of the scene. The characters. We hear them before we see them, and already can hear their differences and the conflict in their voices. They're bickering.
You built the voice demo. The voice demo is flaky. I've been telling you.
And they're bickering about whether or not it's crucial for the Macintosh to say hello in the first 20 seconds of the presentation, and this is when the stakes begin to be felt.
It's not working now, so just skip over the voice demo. Skip over every
20 seconds out of a 2-hour launch. Why not just cut it?
We can't cut it.
Yeah, you just cut
2
it.
days ago, we ran a Super Bowl ad that could have won the Oscar for Best Short Film. There are more people who can tell you about the ad than can tell you who won the game.
Andy's constantly the smallest person in the frame, and his voice is shaky.
Everything else is working. Skip over the voice demo.
Andy sounds like a relatively confident computer engineer who knows what he's talking about, but is babbling in front of Steve. It's only when Steve orders him to fix it that Andy begins to be snappy back at Steve.
It's not going to say hello.
Fix it.
Fix it?
Yeah.
In 40 minutes?
Fix it.
I can't.
Steve's constantly the biggest one in the frame, and his voice is stern and unwavering. When he speaks, everyone listens.
Don't open the house.
We're taking a quick break.
Steve is an if I want it, I'll have it kind of guy who refuses to take no for an answer and uses his natural charisma as a way to get what he wants. Even when the scene ends, he's off to his room backstage and has ordered a variety of personnel to, quote,
Fix the voice demo.
We see Joanna come and go from the conversation, constantly trying to move things forward. We see it as she moves towards the podium with her binder, for instance. Joanna is the peacekeeper who's trying to keep everyone professional and not cause any distress in the audience.
You.
Everything else is working.
She seems to have a natural feeling with Steve and doesn't have a shaky voice when confronting him with things.
We can't cut it.
Yeah, you just cut
2 days.
She's confident and tries to find solutions to the problem at hand.
I understand, but the ad said the Mac was gonna save the world. It didn't say it was gonna say hello.
So here's why I wanted to talk about this scene. I think the reality of the situation is that I've been working on a movie and I'm not quite satisfied with the way I wrote it. And so I kind of wanted to get back to analyzing some films to get my mind off things on one hand and also see how the greats do it. And here's my conclusion. Any good film introduction makes it clear to the audience what is happening and gives them a reason to follow along. Danny Boyle and Aaron Sorkin managed exactly that in 40 seconds. And that's brilliant. Thank you for listening. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.